Congratulations, you've just raised your fresh round of funding. You've got the money in the bank, and now it's time to scale your business the right way. In this video, I've broken down 3 different ways that you can ask your investors for an introduction, starting with the least effective and ending with the most effective. Number 1, ask for intros to a type of customer. Now, this can be the least effective way to go about it, but it can still work. What that means is we don't know exactly who we want the investor to introduce us to, but we're saying, hey, I sell in this space. Who do you know around there? Or who do you know that looks similar? The drawback here is you're asking the investor to do twice as much work. First, they're having to think about the person and figure out who it is they could introduce you to. And on top of that, they're having to think about what's the right way to make this introduction. You're starting to see why this is less effective, right? To make this type of intro as effective as possible, there's 2 key steps. Step 1, define the persona as best you can. Instead of saying we're looking to speak to people in this industry, say we're looking to speak to people with this title at companies with over X people that have been in the industry for more than 5 years, and you'll start to make it easier for the investor to know exactly the kind of people you're looking for. Step 2, write the blurb for the investor. 2 to 3 sentences about why this person should want to meet with you as well. Now the investor, once they know who they're introducing you to, just needs to copy paste that in and maybe add a sentence themselves. Here's an example. We're looking to connect with VPs of sales at 200 plus employee software companies. If you happen to know anyone in your network who fits this profile and might benefit from our product or service, I'd appreciate an introduction. The second most effective way to ask for introductions from investors is to send a spreadsheet of target accounts. If you've got a specific list of accounts that you're trying to win, put them in a spreadsheet, share that with your investor, and ask them to put a note next to any of the accounts that they can help you with. This tends to be more effective than those open-ended requests we spoke about before, because you're being much more specific about the request you're asking for. What's nice about this as well is it stops you from getting 2 introductions into the same company and kind of wasting an opportunity for an introduction. This way, you know if the first investor can help you with one account, to actually focus on other accounts with your second investor. We've actually put together a template for you that you can find in the description of this video. So now you've downloaded that template, what do you do with it? First up, write down the accounts you're trying to get into. Even better if you can be specific about the person you're trying to meet within that business. Step 2, send it to your investors. Maybe you're updating your investors monthly, like we spoke about earlier. Ask them to go into the document and put extra information next to each account that they can help you with. Step 3, now the work is back on you again. Go through the list of people that your investor said they can help with and write a personal intro for each one. Now, all the investor has to do is go back into the document. They can see all the people that they listed and a pre-written email that you put together for them. A lot of making successful intro requests is by doing the work yourself. The person is transferring trust when they make that introduction for you. So you want to make sure you've done the work, because they're actually putting a lot of skin in the game as well. Before I cut the suspense and give you the most effective way to ask for introductions, don't forget to subscribe. The best way to ask for effective introductions is by being as specific as possible about the person you want an introduction to. This is hands down the best way to ask for an introduction. It removes all the effort from the person who's going to make the introduction for you, and you can be as targeted as possible as to why it's relevant to that individual. But there's a reason not everyone is doing these. It's hard to know who your investor knows. I mean, you can go through their LinkedIn, but if they're a good investor or they've been in the space for a while, they could have thousands or tens of thousands of connections and followers. So how do you figure out who you can specifically ask for an introduction to? The first way you can do it is look at what investments they've made in the past. Most likely on their LinkedIn, they list where they're a board member. If one of those companies is relevant for you, you know your investor most likely has the right path in. The second option is what I mentioned already, trying to use LinkedIn. Now this is a good start. It's going to show you who they're connected with, but not necessarily that connection's strength. You can see if they've had any interaction, but it's only going to be based on what's publicly on LinkedIn. Step 3, this is where I spend most of my time, is using Commsor. With Commsor, not only do we have the LinkedIn connection, but we also have the relationship strength. I know that my investor doesn't just know this person, but clearly must interact with them regularly. Don't forget as well, with Commsor, it's not just to use with your investors. We talk about go to network. Yeah, this video is about asking your investors for introductions. But who else could help you? Your colleagues, your advisors, your contractors, your consultants, friends and family. Your network's bigger than you think. Here's an example of what you could write to get that introduction. Hey, I notice you're connected with prospect's name from target company. I think our product or service could really benefit them. and I put some more information below about other companies we work with that are relevant. If you're comfortable, could you introduce me to prospect's name so that we could talk further? Thanks. It also doesn't hurt here to add a little bit of how you can help them back. Remember, your network is give and take. The more you give, the more people are going to be willing to give back. There's so much value in your network, and your investors, almost more than anyone else, apart from maybe your parents, want you to be successful. They will give you introductions because if you grow, their investment is growing.